grinding, dancing, slow-mo, bling. The four light-skins lived in harmony until the slow-mo nation attacked. Only light-skinned Jaden, master of all four elements, could stop them, but when the world needed him most, he vanished.
This week, we're going to be taking a look at NBA basketballer Kelly Oubre Jr. NBA basketballers in general tend to be better looking than average because they're high-level athletes with very low levels of body fat, and in the case of male players, higher testosterone from physical activity and competition. It's no surprise that the large majority of them have strong jaw bodies, sharp brow bones, and high cheekbones. These sexually dimorphic features come about through higher developmental testosterone and are very closely interlinked with each other. It's this perceived masculinity where most of their facial features lean heavily in the crude, manlier side that sets Kelly Oubre apart from the rest of the NBA lineup. Oubre Jr. has been regarded as the most handsome player in the league for a while now, and there's a few reasons that set him apart. In fact, I'd argue that there are three fundamentals to a conventionally attractive face: proportion, dimorphism, and uniqueness. Let's start off with the most obvious. His jaw width is near 1-to-1 with his facial width. If you've been watching this series for a while now, you come to realize that a lot of the attractive men shown throughout have high bigonial to bizygomatic ratios. This facial characteristic falls into number 2, dimorphism, where larger jaws are indicative of higher testosterone, which our ancestors found attractive. This is because it shows that the immune system can take a higher range of stress that testosterone typically places on it. In Mommert's 2016 paper, The Study of the Ideal Male Jaw, he proposed that the angle between the eye and the nose should be the same as the jaw inclination, or at least within a 15-degree deviation. In Kelly's case, his is near perfect, and it's worth noting that Mommert's paper found feminine jaws on men to be more attractive than overly masculine ones. Kelly's is obviously more feminine, whereas most men in the league have masculine ones hidden under beards. This gives him the pretty boy aesthetic that appeals to a younger audience. In 1988, Powell et al. Looked at countless 3D tomography images and found that the most prominent part of the cheekbone, so the zygoma, can be determined by a few construction lines. Here, Kelly's cheekbones are high and far apart, which is again a feminizing trait, but it's still considered attractive because of how long and narrow his eyes are. With a lot of men, they can have the ideal facial width to height ratio, which, if you're new to the channel, is, as the name suggests, wider, shorter faces are seen as more aggressive and attractive, but these men also usually lack the correct eye shape. Having rounded eyes on a wide face makes them look beady and submissive. Also, by transverse proportions, the distance between the eyes and ears becomes too large, which isn't the case here as Kelly has eyes that suit his width. His eyes are hooded by upper periocular fat, which gives the appearance of a strong brow bone, but there's a caveat that it also makes him look younger, as this is a juvenile trait. Nonetheless, it reduces his upper eyelid exposure, so the pre-tarsal exposure, where Vaca et al. In 2019 found that attractive eyes had lower pre-tarsal show than their unattractive counterparts. Kelly is actually a good example of this because his lower exposure makes his eyes appear more deep-set and mysterious, and in terms of evolutionary biology, it's been linked with having a greater fighting advantage, but I guess being 6'7" is quite good too. And here's former basketballer Marko Jaric, same height, same facial width, but the eyes make a big difference if they're not proportionate to the face. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Being light-skinned does give him an advantage in being unique. Being one of only a handful of men in the league with his complexion does help him to stand out. It's something that people are hyper aware about but no one ever wants to acknowledge, aka aesthetic labor. You can refer to these two videos on black models and leadership and attraction for more information on that. TikTok loves to drag on the light-skinned Jadens of the world, especially now. But in researching for this video, one of the most commonly liked features on Kelly were his eyes. Many people liked the color of them, but I'd argue that it's not the color that they like, but how well his eyes as a whole harmonize with the face, as I've just explained. Having uniquely colored eyes doesn't make up for all the other periocular flaws on this particular face. Don't be gaslighted into thinking changing eye colors would dramatically improve aesthetic appeal. Harmony and proportion is much more important. Oftentimes, it has the opposite effect, and a large majority of ocular implants get reversed for one reason or another. Kelly's current hairstyle also makes a big difference. This photo of young Oubre is very different to the one you know now. Being above average tall makes for an above average facial length, and having hair that goes straight up leaves you looking like a tiki mask. Hairstyle found that your perceived attraction is more sensitive to the vertical length of your midface than the width of it. So having a long face is worse than having a shorter but narrower face. Granted, this image has some lens blur and distortion, but it shows a big contrast as Kelly grew into his look. His new look suits him much better because it's more feminine, which matches his pretty boy aesthetic, and it's wider at the sides, which reduces the visual appearance of his facial length, which for most people, men and women alike, is a flaw. Glow-ups are a matter of finding what changeable factors match your unchangeable ones, such as your facial features. I used this TikTok example in a previous video, but an incongruence in your appearance with your personality and facial features leads to negative stereotyping. While you're free to live how you like, that's the secret to a glow-up. In a future video, I'll cover the fashion styles for different body shapes and faces, from the more feminine men to the more masculine women in modeling and what's known as the Saint Laurent silhouette. But for now, that brings us to the end of another video. This Kelly Oubre video was the top comment in a previous one, so we do listen to your suggestions. If you would like for us to analyze your face like we've done here, you can order a facial aesthetics report over at the Coos website, where every tier of report includes a side profile Photoshop morph. Frontal Photoshop morphs will also be available soon using the Marquardt mask, which is something we've been working on over at our Instagram at Coos Studio. If you do enjoy these type of videos, please be sure to subscribe. We just got hacked recently and we'd like to get back on track with pumping out the videos, so do show your support, and as always, see you next time.